Even though I'm talking biology and modern technologies and all that, I try to bring in a bit Swami's teachings, as it gives us great opportunity as educators to, we have the freedom to incorporate whatever we want as we go along with the lectures, and I do. And I think sometimes they ask me, Professor, can we have that 10 minutes of talk you give us sometimes? They ask for it. You know, and some of them are so young, they're lost. You know, I consider them to be just like my son, you know, of that same age. So, but it really matters. It makes, because I get back letters, piles of letters I have, and that is my thank you. That it has made a difference in their lives, and we all, that's what I wanted, that's the legacy I want to leave behind. That I was able to make something, contribute something to better towards betterment of someone's lives. The rest is immaterial. All the degrees we might have and all the other glory really does not matter. If you have, God has given you a means to change a person's life, to make their lives better, to realize Him. So Swami has said, love all, serve all. That is a teaching which stays permanent. I will never forget that quotation. To love all, serve all.
Via the internet, we try to find out how much can you actually achieve, sorry, my voice is bad, how much can you achieve at home before going. So we sort of found many places that we would like to go to, wrote people, asked if they would be interested in seeing us, and that has sort of given us a lot of input, a lot of dialogue, and a lot of very sort of
ideas.
A lot of ideas, and also a lot of new views on what is going on in this part of the world. So you might say it's part social studies, it's part of sort of a travel to be impressed, to be, what we say, inspired, to further work, and then of course it's also ultimately a way of planning new trips with students. So that's more or less what we're doing.
Okay, so you're trying to, who's your target audience then? For this course, this multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary course. I see something coming out of this, which is an interdisciplinary course. You have said social science and English and religion, right?
What will most likely happen is that people here at this course will go back and they have an idea. We might be able to go to New York or London or Berlin, asking colleagues from other subjects, how about we try to identify, say, neighborhoods, religious groups of all faith, providing room for dialogue, for integration with our pupils when we go there. Now that's our sort of main end goal of this, because I mean I'm not sort of suggesting that everybody should go to New York. It's quite expensive for us.
I'm sure of that.
Some do, some will. But the very idea of sort of we've tried to do this mainly via open spaces, via social networks, via institutions' websites, to give people here the inspiration that this can be done. I mean, you don't have to know someone in Paris or Madrid.
Absolutely.
You can actually access people, you'll be able to get in touch with them, and they will be, as you were kind enough to invite us inside and tell us about what you're doing. So that's the idea.
So have you got, as far as your trip is concerned, do you think that you have achieved
Oh yes.
what you planned to in the beginning? Because it always changes, right? Especially coming to a foreign country and meeting different.
The way Lars and I planned this trip.
I have a course where I work with English faculty, but it's within the college. They wouldn't fund us to go abroad so far. I guess try. Now that I see other people do so, I could speak to the dean about it. You know, it's a good idea.
So we've given you a good idea.
Yes, you've given a very good idea. You should come. Yes, you're right. Because we are always, the provost is always telling us interdisciplinary is a focus, because there's a connection, and even though it's a little late, people are realizing all the connections, but there is a connection, and that makes learning all the more fun, I think, right? When we see the connections. Otherwise, we are on separate entities, and then it's not fun anymore. We have to make those linkages, and it's amazing you've traveled to another country and able to do that. Very interesting. So what would you call this course?
It's called Tradition and Postmodernism in New York, 2010. Now that's a grand title, isn't it?
But because it's also interesting to come and see how, in this type of mayhem society, people manage to find an identity. Right. In this new modern time, how do people sort of find themselves? How do they see the world? How do they relate to the world? How do they feel a meaning in life? How do they try to cope in this multicultural, multi-input world where you are bombarded?
We are bombarded. You took the words out of my mouth. It's
you're bombarded every day by do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that, choose this, don't choose this. You have to sort of select and pick, and that's quite interesting to see how that is done. And New York is a definitely place to go and see that.
Yes, ethnically very diverse.
Yeah,
than any other state.
In many ways, very diverse. Right?
Very diverse. Even within the college that I'm teaching, I'm like, oh my goodness, the diversity is an amazing number of countries people come from. You know, so that's. I think you've chosen the perfect state to come to. To look at that from.
The pot is boiling here.
What is it?
The pot is boiling here.
I know, the pot is boiling here. So did you discover anything interesting in your...
Oh yes, you're interesting.
Thank you.
Oh yes, there are a lot of interesting things, yeah.
To learn about.
Yeah,
Anything that you're surprised by, you didn't anticipate?
Also to bring back home to the students to sort of make them open up to the world perhaps being a little more complex, and then again perhaps a little more simple than we thought before. So that could be part of it.
That's a whole... That's why that whole program appeals to me. It's telling that we are all the same, fundamentally the same. You don't go outside you tap into your goodness. It's all right there. It just has to come out. And once that comes out, you see the world in a different light. You don't see the world in so many colors as we do now, right? It's homogeneous then. You know, it's beauty and nothing else. It's not a difference anymore. And I tell that to my class also. Even though I go into cloning, I said I wouldn't want to clone myself. It's such a boring world to see each and everyone look like me and act like me. That would be terrible for me. So you know, it's the diversity. I think that it's the beauty of this place, and I love it.
Food for thought.
Food for thought. I'll take it later. Thanks.
That's just my opinion. Whatever the subject matter is, and you know, we would like them to walk away having skills. But more important than that is for them to have a sense of being humane, which has all of these values in the consciousness that we're talking about. Because you can walk away with a skill that hopefully in a job market, I mean, if we're using that measuring device and say, oh yes, I can go here and I can earn this money, you know, in a very appreciable way. But if you do that and you don't have a sense of values, and you don't have a sense of humanity, a sense of caring, a sense of love, a sense of consciousness about yourself, there's a void. And it's a disservice to humanity, to us all. So once again, I acknowledge your effort to really bring something of value to the classroom.
It's a very interesting thought that you were sort of launching here, because in Denmark, I think that particularly this kind of education, this branch of education, prides itself of not just being focused on technical skills or whatever, but also providing this kind of general education, sort of giving the kind of life skills that will enable you to be a member of society. And perhaps get to know yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's not to take anything away from learning a specific skill, but we need to be human beings first.
Is religious consciousness, commitment to religion and so on, is that on the rise or changing status, or how would you describe the status of religion?
You want to respond to that first?
I'll go second this time.
Okay, all right. So, see, at least where in my minimal interactions, I have friends from different religious backgrounds. And what I see as happening is people are turning to God more so now than before. If that's what you want to know.
Yeah.
They are. I can see, especially after the September 11th, all 9/11 and all the tragedies. They've now decided that is not giving them peace, maybe, So I see a lot of them are turning to religion and God. And I've seen even within the Sai group, we have people of all religions and of different races coming. You will see that many of them, some of them from Haiti, we have people from all over. So they have come there, besides being drawn to Satya Sai Baba, it is a yearning for peace. And they have questions like all of us have with the problems, all the myriad problems in the world today. But in spite of, you would see that as a lot of violence, terrorism and things like that. But in spite of that, what I am seeing, at least from my limited circle, is people are slowly getting over the differences and seeing the good, common good in human beings, as opposed to, the difference and hating each other based on religion. And you can see in the very fact that Obama is our president, that they are willing to accept a non-white. They've come to terms with it. So I think it's all changing. And there will come a day when the teachings that we all want will eventually sink in. It's difficult, it's a long way to go. But I see from my perspective, I think it's more, an awakening is happening. And that's why people come to centers like this. You see a lot of, Dr. Kumar has a lot of people coming from different faiths, different beliefs. They're all coming here. So why? What is drawing them here? So it's an ultimate search for God. And that search for God is search for peace we're talking about. Because all of us turn to God. When do we turn to God? Let's be honest about it. Oh God, desires, right? Problems. So you pray to God, please help me get over this problem or that. So it's many times when it's times of fear and uncertainty and economic situations that we are facing today. So this gives us an opportunity all the more to tap into ourselves and God. Otherwise, if we're all affluent and we don't have much problems, I think the differences will still be there. Because we have everything. So, I am Christian, you're Hindu, and what have you. I think that those differences are slowly, those layers are going away and people are trying to have peace. And you see, especially in America, I'm sure Dr. Kumar must have spoken to you about yoga, the yoga practice. In America these days, it's become Americanized yoga, unfortunately, in some places, because they want to make money out of it. So they have aerobic yoga, they have all kinds of yoga. Because I went to a yoga class once in my college, it was meant for faculty. And I was so excited because I was gaining a lot of weight sitting down, so I said, let me go and take this yoga class. I was appalled, because he had all the right postures, but he missed the basis of yoga, which is peace, inner peace, calmness. The jarring music he had on, I went and asked him, I approached him and I said, I'm sorry, but I'm Indian and yoga has its roots in India, but this is not, it's disturbing, it's jarring music. It takes away the purpose of this yoga postures. So, so things like that, but still you can see the emphasis on what is yoga. Who's a yogi? It's back to our inner self. And that inner self is no different from yours. It's just we perceive it differently, that you are different, I'm different, we are not. And it's slowly that dawning, that awakening is happening. And I think mankind is going towards God, towards religion. Not so much the differences, but towards religion. That's my understanding of what I'm seeing.